On a lighter note, ahead of Women's Day being celebrated tomorrow here in South Africa, we're now joined by Kay Vittee. She's MD of Quest Staffing Solutions, about the kind of shifts we're seeing in the South African workforce, taking stock of gender equality in the workplace. Thanks so much, Kay, for joining us this morning. Well, it feels like a beaten drum that we're looking at here, and even in the treatment of this interview, you know, we were debating how we could actually explore this topic a little bit differently, but whether all the talk is leading to action is the question. And so perhaps a bit premature to think that this is an old story. You know, are South African women being adequately represented in the workforce and in senior management positions in particular?
So SA women represent 46% of the economically active population, as opposed to men, which are 54%. However, we represent 51% of the total population. So in short, we are not adequately represented. On senior management level, if we look, less than 5% of women in JSE listed companies are CEOs. So that gives you an indication we have a long, long way to go.
So what are some of the challenges we face in actually going down this road? Why are we so slow in the uptake at this stage?
Women remain the primary caregivers. We are individually and institutionally marginalized, and there's discrimination in the workplace. So one of the fundamental differences I also know is that men architect their careers. They define, they know where they're going. Women have a tendency not to be as aggressive. Another is that we got to postpone our career when we have families, and that also, you know, it creates a degree of interruption. And while you're on a steady growth path, at 35 or 30, when you have to give birth, you take time off out of the workplace between 6 and 9 months. To enter the workplace, you're conflicted because you are the primary caregiver.
So that's a role that's not going to disappear. You know, we are going to be mothers, you know, forever. So what can be done to change this dynamic? Because surely this cannot be the status quo, you know, as we move forward.
I agree, and I think, you know, firstly for a woman, I think support structures are important. In the workplace, I believe employers can be more accommodating. Flexible working schedules, using technology as an enabler. Today we have laptops, we have versatile cell phones, where outputs become focused. Organizations can certainly start creating child-minding facilities in the workplace that supports the woman. You look at consultancy work, project work. There's just so much diversification. But above all that, organizations need to define a career path and make sure that there's a skills development, a learning path associated, so women can, you know, engineer their growth path to the top.
What about women themselves? I mean, what role do they need to start playing in being more aggressive in putting together their career path moving forward?
You know, my findings is that women need to be 100% ready before they assume a role. Our male counterparts don't. They can be 60% or 80% ready. And what they will do is, once they get into the position, they glean the skill. So I want to encourage all women to say, if you're 60% ready, take the position, and so you can start to glean skills as well.
Of course, there has been a marked difference in the women that resume managerial positions or those higher end positions in government as opposed to the private sector. Why is there such a strong differentiation there? Is there just more being done from government's side in terms of facilitating and putting in place all those measures that you have highlighted that employers need to start doing?
See, government, 35% of government female employees represent 35% in public sector. So it's exactly that. Government has made a conscious choice and a deliberate intention of advancing women, their deputy DGs, their ministers. And if you look at that, 35% representation is a good one. I'd like to see more than that. We'd like to see the balance tipping over to over 60%. But government has made a conscious decision.
So that distinction to be made between public and private sector, how do we compare to other countries? So let's put it on that global platform.
So senior representation, South Africa, although we've got a long way to go, we lead the pack on gender equality. So we have 27% representation as opposed to a global average of 20%. So our margin of differentiation is 7%. While that is, we are still very underrepresented.